Sorry about that, not really sure why the video cut off, but as I was saying, you've got the fresh water inlet here. So when you undo this cap there, fresh water goes directly into there. You put the cap back on, and then it's exactly the same way to close this one here as it was the other side for the hookup point. Gas locker, you can open up this lower part here to make it easier to get the bottles in and out if you want to. But basically all you need to know is that you turn the bottle on anti-clockwise around to the left and turn it off clockwise around to the right. You'll notice that you've got a bottle top regulator here with hose going through to there, because that's the way that it should have been or would have been made in the first place really. So this old bulkhead regulator, you can leave that alone, you don't need to use this at all. So that's it, I'll leave that on for the minute just because I've got a few bits and pieces on inside the van at the moment. I can feel that the heating's working really well because I've left it on for a little while now, just to make sure it's all, all working properly. Hazard lights in the middle just there. Radio and all your sort of like heater settings and things are just there as well. 5-speed manual gearbox reverse is down to the bottom right. Other than that, you've just got your lights, side lights and main beam. Headlight adjustments, and your bonnet release is this one just here. So, a bit more interesting part really. So inside the van itself, I'm going to start just here above the wardrobe, which is your sort of control panel, if you like. So it's a nicely branded Hymer control panel. So on the left hand side here, you'll notice straight away, in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll start from the right. So you've got a main on and off 12-volt switch here. So if I turn this off, all of your lights, all of the fans, all of the, anything that works via the leisure battery will be switched off. All the time that that's on, if you're using any power, you'll be able to see just about how much power is being used. So you can see there, what's that about? Not really sure. Like 2 amps maybe being drawn at any one time. If your hookup cable was plugged in, this little yellow light would be on here. Lights, switch just here. So that's if you want your lights on. I mean, that could be any light really. I'm not sure exactly which one it is. It might even be an outside light perhaps. But that's that button there. On the left hand side is all kind of like it shows you how much you have in places basically. So you've got your fresh water level here, so I push up there, you can see at the bottom level there, it shows you've got 3/4 of a tank of fresh water. And if I press down, still looking at the bottom one there, no wastewater. And obviously that's correct because there's no wastewater coming out of the pipe that I showed you up there. So that's your fresh and wastewater, and you need to look at the bottom scale for that. On the left, you've got your battery level voltages. So you want to look at the top scale on this one. So this is your engine battery voltage, the top one. So just shy of 13 volts in the engine battery, which is actually really, really good. And 12.5 volts in your leisure, which is also really good. Bearing in mind, I've got some lights on, the fan on for the heater. I've been lighting your fridge up, all that sort of stuff. So, 12.5 volts in a battery that's being used is really, really good. Next to that, you've got your boiler controller here. So if you wanted to light your boiler up to get hot water, turn this around and you can see you've got 30 all the way through to 70 degrees on here. So you're just turning it on, you get your green light and it will light up. The boiler itself, I believe, sits underneath this here behind the heater there. You shouldn't need to get to that really for any reason. The only thing you need to do before turning that boiler on is just come over to your tap and make sure that you've got pressure in the water system. So to do that, you quite literally just lift this tap up. So you've got pressure on the cold side and we've got pressure on the hot side. Once you've done that, turn it off. That's it. If you did that and no water came through at all, it either means you've not got enough water in a tank and you need to fill up the tank a bit more, or it means that there's air in the system and that your boiler isn't quite full yet. So just need to hold it on for a little bit, wait for it to come through like it was just then, and then you're good to go. The heating is just as easy. on the left hand side here, you've got your fan settings. So if I turn this dial here down to 1, the fan's still going, but around these little circular vents, which is where the fan pumps the air to, it's just blowing a slightly less air. If I turn it right the way up, as you can hear it now, these vents are now pumping out quite a lot more air. So that's that vent there. There should be one in the bathroom. Yeah. And so, you know, pretty quickly, this whole van has heated up really nicely. I mean, it's about sort of 12 degrees outside at the moment, and it's really nice and warm inside here. So that's how that works. That's the fan there. So the fan is really, if it was hot outside, you can obviously use the fan without the heating, so you can just pump around air if you want to. But really, the fan is to be used when you've got the actual heater lit up on gas. So the way that you do that is you've got a little flame inside here, which you can just about see there. So what I'm going to do just quickly, I'm going to turn it off, just so I can show you it working. So by turning it off, I just literally turned it all the way around so that I'm facing this little 0. And then you can check that by looking inside there again, and there's no flame. So to light this heater up, all you have to do is got an electronic ignition. So all you need to do is turn this dial around to about 3 or 4, and you can see there straight away it's lit itself up. The reason it's lit itself up is because it's so hot that the thermocouple is still open and allowing gas in. Okay, so that's why that lit up without me even pressing the button down or anything. Usually, if you hadn't had it on already, you'd have to turn it around to about here, 3 or 4, and then push down. So you get that little flame there, and then lift up on it and turn it around all the way up like that. You then get your main flame kicking in, and that's it. You can leave it alone. So essentially, as long as that flame is on and staying on, and the ignition isn't coming back in, you can leave that alone and it will stay on. So after a little while, after 10 minutes or so, you'll have hot air pumping around the vehicle if you have that fan on. You don't have to use the fan, but it does make it sort of pump around a lot more smoothly and a lot more easily. Heats the place up a lot quicker. So I'm going to turn it off again because I don't need it on anymore. But what I'm going to do, so another little sort of tip, I've turned the heater off, so there's no more flame in there now. But this heater will stay hot for, I don't know, perhaps 20 minutes from now. It'll still be hot, or at least it'll be nearly cool by then. So if I was you, I would leave the fan running for another sort of 5-10 minutes or so after you've switched it off. And that, you know, it keeps on pumping around that hot air. You might as well use it if it's there. So leave it pumping around for a little bit longer, and it stops so much heat coming out directly from it as well. So that's the heater. Don't forget to turn the fan off when you are done with it. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Paperwork is all in here. That's a nice full box of paperwork there. Your TV aerial and TV aerial booster are both there. Just inside that wardrobe. Okay, so your fridge is the next sort of important bit really to show you. So you've got, it's all pretty simple stuff, but you've got the gas system on the right hand side and your electrical bits on the left. So at the moment I have it lit on gas. So the reason you can see that, or the way you can see that, is this one here is facing the little gas symbol rather than the off symbol at the top. So that means that it's got the gas pumping through. There's no peephole inside there to actually see it from. But also the ignition button is on and not actually igniting. Okay, so if I turn this off, the ignition button comes on, starts flashing. So now there's no flame down there and it's trying to ignite. So to actually light it up, turn the ignition on like it is now, push in on this one around to the left. Ignition one stops straight away because it's lit straight up. Let it go, and that's on. So you can double check that, obviously, like I said, by going out there and putting a hand over that vent if you wanted to, just a double check. But really, if that ignition comes on, you turn it around, it lights up, it stops, then it's lit. Okay, so that's how you use it on gas. So I'll turn it off, turn the ignition switch off, and that's it. If you had access to a hookup cable and it was plugged into the vehicle, you can just turn this one on here, it will illuminate green, and then pretty quickly, or in the same amount of time as the gas, you'll have a cool fridge. The mains electric, so the green one for your hookup and the gas, are the only two ways that this fridge will get cold, like on its own, basically. The other one here, the red one here, is for when your engine's running only and your fridge already needs to be pre-cooled before you actually use it on that function. Okay. So, and something sitting on the roof, which is what's making that noise. And I'm not sure what it is. I think it's a bird or something. So, anyway, you basically need to light it up on gas, leave it for a good few hours, or turn it on the mains and leave it for a few hours before turning it over to 12 volt when you're driving. The reason for that is that the gas and the mains electric are the only two that are powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. The gas is fine, that's made to do that, no problem at all. Exactly the same with the mains, but the 12 volt element that's in there only really retains whatever temperature is inside the fridge already. It's not powerful enough to get it cold by itself. So get it cold first, start your engine up, switch over to 12 volt, and then just switch back over to one of the other two whenever you're stopped and whenever you get to where you're going. All right, so that's the way that works. Inside this cupboard to the right, you've got your gas isolators. So you've got fridge, cooker, boiler, heater. Okay, that's just going by what those symbols say. So to isolate them, you just literally turn it 90 degrees and that'll isolate whichever one of those ones you want to isolate. The reason, and the only reason that you would ever need to do that, is if you think there's a problem with any of those appliances. If you don't think there's a problem with it, you do not need to do that, because all it will do is cause you problems. If you turn all of these off every time you get out of the van, you'll struggle to light them back up again when you go to light them back up again. So you don't need, turning the gas bottle off in the locker is absolutely plenty to turn the gas off to all the appliances. But if you know, for example, if you're on holiday and you thought there was a gas leak from the fridge, you could just turn the fridge isolator and then forget about it for that time. But otherwise, you don't need to worry about those at all. The bathroom, pretty simple. You've got this bit in here, which when you push that in, you can pull this entire thing around and use it as a shower, sort of like a separate shower unit. On the door, we've also got this part which comes around, which meets up with that piece in there. And when the door's shut, it actually makes a huge, complete, separate shower. So when you actually get in there and have a go, you'll find it's actually really, really easy. And you'll know exactly what I mean. Pushing it back away, just push it back like that. And that won't move around, and it's nice and solid. Other than that, you've got a switch down there for your lights and a 12 volt point as well. Your toilet cassette, really easy. You've got a button here which pumps the flush fluid around, or the fresh water around, and then you drain it out from here. So open into the cassette and then close it back over again. If you don't close that back over again, you'll find that you won't be able to take the cassette out from outside. It'll be locked in place. So you need to make sure that you close that back over. Other than that, you've got a nice big storage locker in here with some bits and pieces. So you've got mains power, 12 volt power in there. That closes over nicely. The beds, I know you've probably seen the van already. The beds just pull together and make a nice big double bed. And of course, you've got your huge double bed over the cab there as well. The ladder just hooks over here. It's obviously nice and solid and plenty strong enough to sleep a couple of adults up there comfortably. Just make sure there's nothing else I've missed out anywhere. I don't think there is. Okay, so essentially, the main bits and pieces really, I mean, you've got this as well, but to be honest, I don't even often show this because it's so simple. It's just like any household cooker. You do need an igniter or a lighter or something to light these up because there's no ignition on it. But basically just push it and turn, just like any household cooker. To put all this stuff the way it is, you need to lift it up and then fold it over like that. Tap down, and then you can see this bit up here. So if I show you how that works, when you lay it out flat, it's obviously just laid out flat. You can put it in the gap there and leave it out like that if you want to. You can also do it like that. You can pretty much have it however you want to have it. But that's just an original Hymer thing that they do. It's just a nice idea. This side folds out flat like that, and then you've got it all tucked away like that. I'll turn the fan off for the heater now. But you know, basically when you finish using the vehicle, it's just a case of going around, making sure all the skylights are down, making sure your windows are shut, awnings away nicely, things like that. And you know, other than that, it's all pretty simple stuff. You've got your front and rear seat belts in the back, so you've got 6 belts. Yeah, not much else to show you, I don't think. Or it might be 5 belts actually, looking at it. But yeah, so if there's anything else you think I've missed out or anything you want going through again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to fetch your van. Thanks very much.